All right, so Kaitlyn's up first.
I am up first.
I added one to go with yours. Go ahead.
Okay, so this has been all the rage over on Twitter, is everyone making their own masks. And now there is a website, maskforall.co, and they are telling people why you should wear masks. And I've also seen on Twitter a lot of people getting upset because they think people shouldn't wear masks because the CDC says it's not recommended. Well, the CDC does not recommend masks because they don't want people running out and buying all the masks when they're desperately needed by medical professionals. That doesn't mean you should not be wearing masks or that masks don't help. They absolutely do, but you should be making your own somehow. And this site has a lot of instructions of how to make your own masks and how effective they are.
Yeah, sounds great. Although I found this clear. I know the CDC's also said that masks won't even help. And at the same time, that they absolutely need them for the people working in hospitals. So many people, including Tucker Carlson, have been pointing out that doesn't make any damn sense at all.
Yeah.
The other thing is that it's not just to keep you from getting it, it's also to keep you from spreading it, especially if you may be asymptomatic.
Exactly.
I like the paper towel and rubber bands. Now that's my kind of technology. Although now I have some N95 masks, so I'm waiting for someone to punch me in the face for having one. But anyway, because I got them years ago.
Yeah, I have some N95 masks that I cannot donate because they've been used.
Yeah.
So I wear them around now, and someone's going to get upset at me for having an N95 mask, but, I don't know what to do about that.
Well, and the other thing is I think we need to be real careful about plague shaming people, because there are also folks that lived with immunocompromised individuals, and cancer patients, the elderly, et cetera, and they really need to be wearing masks when they're out and about.
Right. I like the whole term of plague shaming. I think that's great.
And the other, that's the other thing too about wearing masks, is that if everyone wears masks, the people who do desperately need to wear masks don't feel different or kind of, you know what I mean? They don't feel like they're standing out too much.
Yes, I've got a friend who is old enough to be in the risk group and tells me, I won't wear a mask because I'd look funny. And, I'm far more shameless than most people, I guess, but I never would let a thing like that stop me. I'm sort of horrified. But there are people who will let that stop them.
I would rather people be upset and think that I'm a kook than me accidentally giving COVID-19 to some, 90-year-old person who just went shopping at the same time I did. So.
And not for nothing, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who thought I looked crazy and kooky even before all this started. So why stop now?
Right.
I think the hacker community is just used to always being the strange one in every crowd. But other people actually have a hope of blending in.
Right. It's just every day.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Pelosi wants to move to vote by mail, which I think many people are doing. It seems like a no-brainer. It obviously has to happen. But as usual, Trump managed to make a big deal out of it by saying the unspeakable thing you're not supposed to say, which is if people could vote more easily, no Republican would ever get in again, which is, of course, true. But you're supposed to say, oh, no, people are fraudulently voting. It's not that the majority of people don't like Republicans. Oh, no, it couldn't be that. But anyway, I think she's going to win. I really like Pelosi. She's really smart. And I think, again, she's on the right side. I don't think they can stop this, but they're trying, of course. But voter suppression is totally how Trump got in and absolutely essential for the future of the Republican Party. And I was very impressed at the end of this. She was interviewed on Morning Joe, and Trump tuned in, and then he tweeted about it. He said, she wasn't so bad, although she hates me. But what she said, we need a strong Republican Party, which I'm glad to hear her say, because I think we do. I think we really need two parties, because I live in the ultimate liberal paradise of San Francisco. This is what happens when you have no Republicans at all. The Democrats get 100% of what they want, and it is kind of insane. But there ought to be a party on the other side that actually makes some sense. And what the Republican Party needs to do is move to a position where enough people support them again. Anyway.
Here's a wild idea. Maybe a two-party system isn't working out so hot.
Well, I don't think the parliamentary systems work out a lot better. But I mean, anyway, a one-party system I really don't like. I'd be happy with n greater than 1.
I mean, it might be a nice idea to just get rid of parties altogether and just vote for the candidate, but that's crazy talk.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that
not
is.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, I think that involves way too much work. Most people are busy and they don't care about politics. Now I'm supposed to like listen to a whole bunch from every individual person. I don't know, man.
What is
I,
this?
I would
Greeks?
I would be in favor of ranked choice voting for sure.
Well, I've heard people argue it, and then people argue the other side. It might be nice. I don't think it'd make a big change, but I think we're certainly living through quite a crisis in the party, especially Republicans. Republicans have really sort of lost their center and begun wobbling all over the place. So who knows what's going to come of it all. Anyway, then we got the pie hole. Oh yeah, the pie hole. Do you guys have a pie hole? I don't have
Oh,
one.
yes. Oh, yes.
Oh, good.
Well, just so you know, everything, they released a patch for this, but pretty much everything up until last month, I think, is when they released the patch, is vulnerable to a pretty cool hack.
Yeah.
So they released 4.33 last month to address this problem. So if you're running it, you might want to update because there's this awesome CVE, and this is actually a really good write-up that explains how attackers can achieve RCE on your system. And go check it out. Take a look.
Yeah, this would be great in my class if I can run this like in a virtual machine and have it as a project. This is a fun remote code education because you have to like encode everything in ASCII and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which you can. I mean, you can run a pie hole in a VM.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, well, maybe I'll set it up for my exploit development class. It'd be fun.
It's pretty easy to set up. It's just a script.
Good. Yeah, well, that's a fun one. And then you got Zoom. Bunch of stuff about Zoom today.
Yeah, ever since Zoom made it into mainstream, it is under fire.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's true with anything. As soon as anything gets big enough, all the hackers go, "Ooh, what can I do?"
Yep.
So yeah, there are more Zoom domains being registered that are fake, of course, and fake installers and all that kind of stuff now arriving.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Especially now there's a bunch of privacy scares about Zoom. So you could totally send an email saying, Zoom has a terrible flaw. Download this new version from Zoom US Zoom.
Yep. So it's just that general, just be cautious all the time because, yeah.
Yep, and here's one of them.
Yeah, and speaking of Zoom and being cautious, it turns out, well, this is a bit of a misleading headline. They say that there's no end-to-end encryption. Now, it does use, HTTPS and AES and everything to send video out. However, it's not technically end-to-end because the HTTPS goes to Zoom servers where they themselves can decrypt it before sending it back to the user. So it's technically not end-to-end, even though they market it as end-to-end.
Yeah, I saw that.
Bad marketing? What?
Well, I saw that, and I really think it's making a mountain out of a molehill. It set up your end-to-end, and then I thought, HTTPS, well, that is end-to-end to the server, but I know what they mean. End-to-end is from me to the end user, so even the people in the middle can't see it, which is what the privacy nerds and cryptographers have been talking about end-to-end. A normal user doesn't know or care about that distinction, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, exactly. Don't worry. We have more damning stories about Zoom later on, so we'll talk about this some more. This actually dovetails nicely.
Yeah, but I thought I worked at the FTC under contract, and I also reported a lot of security vulnerabilities, including the ones they mentioned here, where companies got sued for breaking TLS. And in the world of encryption flaws, this is really a 1 out of 10. Not even really worth reporting or doing anything about, in my opinion. There are bad encryption flaws. This is what I'd call a pretty minor one. All they need to do is change the wording of this little message, saying Zoom encrypts all your transmissions. It's technically not end-to-end, and certainly the marketing people at Zoom don't know what end-to-end encryption is, and they thought it was. And I don't really fault them too much for that. It's pretty close to end-to-end.
Right, it's close. However, there are some talks about Zoom using our data in our meetings for like things like targeted ads and stuff, which is
Well,
where the fact that it's not end to end, technically not end to end,
well, that's
comes
right.
into play.
Well, you're right. Okay, if it was, then it wouldn't be able to target ads. Yeah. So let's see. Then this one, I know this is everywhere. When I go to China, there's these giant thermometers everywhere in the airport, and they take your temperature everywhere you go. And so I think that makes a lot of sense, and I guess they'll start doing it here. Now, I'm sure you can again complain about the fact that you could be spreading the virus and not have a fever yet, but still, it seems like a good move to remove people with a fever. And this takes me all the way back to like 30 years ago when I worked at a company and everybody got the normal flu and they were out for a month and it cost us a lot of money and messed everything up. And I told the boss people should get flu shots, and he got everybody flu shots because just the normal flu is actually a huge problem. Anyway, so I think this would be great. I think we'll see what happens. I think it's quite reasonable to make people take a fever scanner before they go to work in some crowded place.
So I'd be even happier if they provided their employees with like healthcare and stuff.
Well, sure, and if you're going to get all picky and stuff, but I mean, but I would at least give them flu shots. Now that would seem like a reasonable compromise to me. They get a free flu shot, and then they can't come to work when they're sick, and they get their sick days. So what do you want? You communist or something?
Well, why do that when they're so expendable and you can just fire them and take the next sucker to work their job?
Well, you could avoid all that bad press for the cost of about a flu shot for each one, which is probably 50 cents or something. So from a purely capitalist point of view, it would be more logical to pay for the flu shot. Anyway, let's see how it goes. So now we've got FireEye. Oh, I saw this. Yeah, ICS tools.
Yes. So this is actually kind of cool. It's interesting to see how the threat landscape's evolving in that now there's a lot more ready-made tools out there in the wild to attack industrial control systems. So we knew they were vulnerable and we knew this was coming, but it's one of those areas that still a lot of attention is not a lot of attention's paid to it regularly. And I think it's becoming more evident that this is a problem.
Yes, and they're picking on Metasploit and stuff. This is, of course, the eternal ethical problem with attack tools. They do end up in malware, and yet you wouldn't have any fun without them. So
right. But it's pretty interesting that this is becoming a wider area of focus for hackers now.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I remember we tried to go to that contest at LBL. It was supposed to be about ICS, but it wasn't really. It would be a good time for ICS CTFs and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm actually sitting on a 0 day for Schneider Electric stuff that I want to turn in, but the thing is we were in the middle of doing the pen test where I found the 0 day, and then all of a sudden we got shut out because of the coronavirus. So
wow.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, you should definitely get a CV. Hey, you were on Red Team of CCDC, right?
I was on Red Team.
How in the world did you get that? I thought people lined up for years trying to get that gig.
Oh, someone on Twitter was like, come on, let's do Red Team. And I was like, okay. And they're like,
that's it.
Okay, you're in. I don't know how that
That's
works.
Awesome.
They're actively looking for people, especially now that they're expanding. So
was that the national?
Yeah, no.
Regional? That was the regional?
It was regional, right? All yeah. And our team actually did really well. We got third place for Red Team.
Nice.
So I think
our team that compete for Red Team?
Right now the Red Teams compete with each other. So
that's very cool.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
That's awesome. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, so I guess this is a thing I'll be doing from time to time now, I guess.
Oh yeah. It sounds great.
Yeah.
So all right, so this is SS7 flaws.
Right.
Yeah.
SS7 flaws that are being used by the Saudis to keep track of people.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time. This is why a lot of people hate SMS-based two-factor authentication.
Right. Been around for quite a while, not fixed by anybody, and the fear is, that's going to be used here.
Well, I think it is. I've been hearing about this for at least 5 years, but I think the problem is you have this huge installed infrastructure that would all have to be changed to upgrade it.
Yeah. And at the end, of course, things like Signal and WhatsApp are mentioned as, if you want to get around.
And Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, like everything, you trade one set of flaws for another set of flaws.
Right. Right.
Yep. All
But
right.
yeah, changing all the infrastructure is probably not going to happen any day soon.
Well, I don't know. If we're all going to work at home for the next year, there might be more motivation. I don't know. Anyway, here's, oh yeah, this is a cute video. I love this video.
Yeah. So this is the new SMB vulnerability that's been finally weaponized. And they have this is the GitHub page, and they have it running. And essentially, it's just a local exploit. You run it locally, and suddenly a root like you ran PSExec.
Yep.
It's been fun, and all previous versions of Windows 10 at the very least are vulnerable to this. So if you want system access, you just run this executable, and there you go.
It sounds great. I know the thing that always baffled me is in Metasploit, there's like get system, and it just works forever. They never seem to patch it.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Microsoft just doesn't care about local privilege escalation.
I think that, at least as far as I know, they're taking this one pretty seriously and already did patches, but.
Mm-hmm. Yep, well, that's good anyway. I thought this was pretty incredible. So in Las Vegas, at the homeless shelter, somebody tested positive for COVID-19, so they closed it. And to substitute it, they just took the roof of a parking garage and gave them all a 6x6 foot square to live in. And they were going to put carpets down for them to sleep on, but then they found out they couldn't efficiently disinfect the carpets. So they're just sleeping on the cement, and that's the replacement homeless shelter.
Wow.
This seems totally insane.
Yeah.
It does, doesn't it?
Wow.
Especially the ones in the middle here. They can't even walk out to go to the bathroom without stepping on somebody. And they think this is going to stop the spread of a virus, this 6 foot by 6 foot square.
They're not actually 6 feet apart. That's insane.
This is like a dystopian future, like a Monty Python movie. Nobody would actually do this.
I can't tell you how often I'm thinking of Monty Python these days.
Yeah.
Same.
Bring out your dead.
Yeah, bring out your dead.
I know. It's just amazing. Anyway, all right. And right, more about Zoom. Vampires. Zoom is vampires feeding on blood.
Yes, just to pile on the Zoom train.
Somehow I don't understand the blood, but let's hear it.
It's sort of meta since we're using Zoom right now. Yes, so they are actually entitled to, as part of the EULA, to check out all your data. I mean, they can. They've got the right to extract your data, and from your meetings, from your chat, from your users, to populate targeted ads. So just like Kaitlyn was talking about, not exactly end-to-end encryption. And I've looked into alternatives, and there are a few, but really this is the best, as far as I can tell, this is the best option we've got right now. So it's, there's not a ton of good alternatives to this.
So it's a matter of time before during this we start seeing ads.
Well, all my stuff is public anyway. I'm using Zoom to publish it to the world. I really don't think any of it's secret. I don't know. I guess you shouldn't. And the other one thing that caught my attention was someone said, if you save a transcript of the messages, you get all the private messages mixed in with the public messages.
Yes.
So people should be aware that if you're like the teacher and the students are sending you PMs and then you publish the transcript, that will include the private messages, including public messages, which I think has always been, anyway, that's the only, people have been screaming and yelling about Zoom. That was the only one that I thought might actually matter. All the rest of it I thought was obvious. Of course they're targeting ads or something. How do they make any money?
Also, I think that folks should, bear the private message thing in mind in a employment context, because you don't want to be, talking smack about your boss and then have them go see it later when they look at the chat logs.
Right.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
We've all had that. We've all had that type A a-hole at one point who would actually do that.
Oh yes. They tried to silence me. There was somebody at the college that wanted to ordered me to stop using Twitter, but somehow that person's gone and I'm not, is how it turned out. But anyway, there's always somebody. And we got the Marriott.
This happened this morning.
Neat.
They admitted to a breach. Now, of course, because it came out this morning, there's not much info as to how they got in or whatnot, but they did take, they're taking the contact details, loyalty account information, some PII stuff.
But supposedly not credit cards or passwords.
Supposedly not credit card or passwords.
Although in the past, companies usually lie about that as long as possible.
Right.
And apparently 5 million people, I thought I saw down here somewhere.
Yeah, it's about 5 million.
Yeah, well, yep, another, and it was some local person's credentials used. So it's either one local person doing something bad or maybe spyware on one person's machine or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I know this is why Microsoft touted the read-only domain controller kind of thing. So you'd have less information at the endpoints.
Right.
But most people don't have anything like that. And the read-only domain controller, I don't think it would have stopped this actually. It only stopped modification at the endpoints, not leakage of data at the endpoints. But horizontal controls would seem to be the solution, although I'm not aware of any enterprise class solutions that do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any more comments about anything?
No, just
Right.
keep being safe. We're stuck here till what, May 1st now?
Yes, I think so.
At the very least.
Very least May 1st.
That's the
Yeah,
word on the
least.
street.
So I'm starting to think that you're right, Sam, that this year's Black Hat and DEF CON won't happen.
I really don't think they're going to happen, because even if the risk is small by then, how many people are really going to go to Vegas to some huge event with thousands of people from all over the world? Everyone's going to be told by remember, we went to China last year. All the American friends said, oh my God, don't go to China. They'll kill you. It's terrible over there, because they thought that was too dangerous. How are you going to explain to your grandparents and your wife and stuff that it's perfectly fine to go to Vegas? It's all over now. I think they'll have only 10% of the people.
I know this is unsubstantiated, but I heard a rumor that there's a June 1st is going to be the decision date on whether they're going to have it or not. So
Well, that's substantiated. I saw a picture of that post.
Yeah, I saw that. That's the official word from DT. So they will decide on June 1st. But I think they're going to decide that it's canceled. I don't know what other decision they could possibly make. How could you possibly justify assembling thousands of people in a big convention center at this time? Now, you could try giving them all face masks or something, but I really think nobody can take the legal risk. They could all sue you later. I
read an article that this may, really signify the end of these big conventions, which would make sense.
Yeah, they were talking. It was always known to have con flu. Every time you go to these conventions, you would get the flu. I think because of Zoom and stuff, it's about time to admit that we don't really need these gigantic face-to-face gatherings.
But they're so fun.
Yeah.
Where am I going to get my t-shirts from?
It does. I will say that it does remove the element of serendipity, kind of. And, when you do go to these events, you do end up randomly meeting people that you wouldn't otherwise, and, doing things that you wouldn't otherwise. Like, that's kind of what got me super hooked on car hacking. And damn it, I was really looking forward to hacking a satellite this year.
Well, yeah, you're right. There is a loss there, but I think the cost is not worth the loss. And I think by the time we get to our 100,000 or 200,000 people dead in America, which I guess will be in about 3 weeks, I think I've heard sociologists say that we are going to be scarred by this the way my parents were scarred by the Great Depression. Anybody who lived through that spent their whole life keeping a pile of canned food and money and stuff, forever afraid. And they say our whole generation is going to forever be worried about disease because of this. Because people are going to die. There's going to be horrible pictures of bring out your dead piles of bodies in the street and stuff. I think the whole idea of getting 10,000 people together in a place is just going to be awful and undesirable for a long time to come.
Yeah, it's interesting that there's still a fairly large contingent of people in this country that think it's like a hoax still and not serious. Like they expect to see like bodies stacked in the street outside the hospital and refuse to believe it. Because
that's what convinced Trump, apparently, was the refrigerator truck in the Queen Hospital, which I thought Trump was going to just fire the experts and continue to deny it, and he totally went the other way. that's why Morning Joe has been nice to him for a couple of days, saying, Trump really finally did the right thing, saying shut everything down. This is really going to be bad, and admitting there's going to be like 100,000 dead, and that would be a victory. And I think when Trump finally goes that way, I think there aren't too many Americans that are going to continue to pretend there's not a problem.
I think at a certain point he just didn't have a choice.
Yeah,
I was really disappointed that the president felt that a lot of the pressure for him to take action were people on the left just trying to, bully him. And the president essentially made the coronavirus about him. And I can tell you, at least from my perspective as being, a very liberal communist type person, that I really don't really care about his politics right now. I just want to keep people safe.
Yeah. And he's finally doing the right thing.
Yeah, and he is. And I really am glad that he is doing the right thing now.
But I think that's
nothing new. It's nothing new for America to be like this. Winston Churchill said the same. America will always do the right thing, but only after they've tried everything else.
Yeah.
It's not just Trump. It's our character. It's our democracy where everybody gets to speak, and therefore the idiots get to speak for a while until they finally get drowned out.
I think it's a pretty good example, though, of why these sort of identity politics on both sides can be harmful. If you look at countries that don't have the same level of contentious party fight dynamics that we do, they jumped on this a lot sooner and handled it a lot better.
That's a strong authoritarian government where they can make a decision and stick to it. But of course, that also means if they don't like you, you're just screwed, like the Uyghurs.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have a very kind of weak centralized government here in the United States, and that's one of the reasons why our response was so slow. But on the same side, or on the other side, do you really want a strong federal government that can override, states' decisions that, for example, California and Washington State were really on top of this?
Yeah.
Would you rather, if the federal government had that strong power, they could have said, hey, California, no, we're not going to make you, destroy your economy, because we need your money or something. There's two sides to this coin.
Yeah, and I think that's the fundamental principle of America is the United States. The states are supposed to be the powerful, and the federal government is supposed to be so small you can drown them in a bathtub. It's a Republican position. Mm-hmm. All right, well, I'm going to stop the recording.
Right.